at exactly 3 a.m. local time on August 29th, 2025. As the Russian S-400 Triumf air defense system in Dzhankoi began its new duty cycle, the 91N6E radar spun its deadly rotations, emitting pulses of electromagnetic waves that cut through the Crimean night sky. The entire crew on duty still believed they were manning one of the most formidable air defense rings in the world, completely unaware that the $500 million radar station's remaining lifespan was now measured in minutes. From deep within a forest east of Mykolaiv, nearly 155 miles from Dzhankoi, a camouflaged KamAZ truck extended its hydraulic hatch under the cover of foliage. Inside was a weapon never before revealed, a Flamingo cruise missile developed by Firepoint Industries, an ultra-low-flying dagger, extremely difficult for ground-based radar to detect. With a range of up to 1,850 miles and a warhead weighing over 2,200 pounds, Flamingo was built to punch through command posts, ammunition depots, and radar systems deep inside enemy territory. Its destination? The exact position of the 91 North 6 East radar from an S-400 battery southeast of Dzhankoi near a railway junction, once responsible for coordinating fire control across at least 3 S-400 systems protecting the skies over Crimea. The system's estimated value approached $500 million, but far more important was its strategic role. The 91 North 6 East was the eye of the sky for all northern Crimean airspace, capable of detecting targets out to 370 miles, tracking 300 objects simultaneously, and guiding up to 80 surface-to-air missiles at once. Disabling this radar would open up a blind zone over 95 miles wide in Russia's air defense network, paving the way for follow-up operations. And this target had been hunted for a long time. For 48 hours prior, Ukrainian electronic reconnaissance units had silently traced the radar's emissions, the 91N6E's operational frequency signature. Each signal, each radio pulse cycle, was recorded. All of this was done using a single loitering UAV, a Beaver-class kamikaze drone launched earlier by Ukraine. Weighing just over 110 pounds, the drone flew barely 330 feet above the treetops using inertial terrain navigation algorithms. Like a nocturnal predator, it slipped past the Podlet K-1 radar line without being detected. Mounted on its body were 3 mission-critical components: a FLIR electro-optical infrared camera, a passive signal receiver, and a wideband data link antenna. Beneath the lightweight composite shell, a cold onboard processor continuously scanned the electromagnetic spectrum, searching for one telltale sign: the C-band pulse of the 91 North 6 East Gravestone radar. And then, at exactly 3:07 a.m., the operator's screen flashed. A sharp signal wave appeared: C-band active, continuous pulse. The Beaver's internal reference map immediately marked a hotspot 8 miles southeast of Dzhankoi, tucked between 2 low shrub clusters, an exact match with the satellite recon image captured a week earlier. Target confirmed. The 91 North 6 East radar was transmitting at full range. Immediately, at a hidden position near Mykolaiv, the Flamingo strike team leader gripped his headset and gave a firm command. Begin target lock sequence. Engineers input the encrypted coordinates relayed from the Bayraktar UAV. The confirmation lit up. Flamingo was now ready, awaiting only the launch command. But tonight, it wouldn't fly alone. Once launched, Flamingo would need 11 minutes to reach the target, more than enough time for enemy radar to detect and intercept it if not distracted. It needed a shield, a decoy, a sacrificial bait, and Ukraine had planned for that. Earlier, at 2:59 minutes and 50 seconds a.m., on the Kherson front line, a Ram-2 decoy UAV had silently launched from a mobile rotating launcher. The drone maintained an altitude of 6,560 feet, cruising along Crimea's western coastline like a civilian aircraft, until it suddenly veered 70 degrees, diving straight toward northern Dzhankoi, the exact location of the S-400 radar post. Its radar signature was bright, flight path deliberately obvious, all designed to attract the attention of the 91 N6E radar crew to make them believe this is the Ukrainian cruise missile. At 3:10 minutes and 50 seconds AM, the launch order was transmitted. A short beep sounded. The hydraulic lift pushed the 20-foot missile smoothly out of its launch cradle, tilting it to a 30-degree angle, the optimal trajectory for low-altitude cruise. Mere seconds later, Flamingo detached. No roar, just a thin, cold trail of smoke twisting southward across Crimea. One of the boldest precision strikes of 2025 had just begun. Meanwhile, in the skies west of Crimea, the Ram-2 Dzhankoi completed its final turn. Now, just 25 miles from the radar site, it entered Russia's air defense coverage zone. As expected, it was picked up by a Panzer S-1 system, which switched to target lock mode. 17 seconds later, a 57E6 interceptor missile launched, pursuing and destroying the Ram-2 in mid-air. But the mission was already a success. Every radar signal, lock-on frequency, reaction time, and firing vector was extracted and encrypted, transmitted back to command. That data was immediately uploaded into Flamingo's digital guidance map. But that wasn't all. No-fly zones, GPS jamming zones, 3D terrain overlays, and turn points were all fed directly in real time through an encrypted link from a tactical UAV relay, ensuring Flamingo could avoid every newly activated threat zone before entering its final strike phase. At this point, Flamingo had already crossed the first 25 miles in total silence. It flew at just 165 feet, lower than the scanning envelope of most ground radars, with terrain following precision down to the meter, minimizing detection probability. Every second, Flamingo processed over 3,000 navigation calculations, constantly cross-checking actual terrain against the 3D map preloaded from the Beaver UAV. It was an 11-minute game of life and death, where a single mistake, being picked up by radar, drifting off course due to terrain irregularities, or interference from a Pole 21 jammer, would mean mission failure. At exactly 3:13 a.m., GPS signals were interrupted for the first time. Within just 12 seconds, satellite navigation was completely jammed by interference stations from the Crimean Peninsula. Distorted frequency waves flooded the control screen, but this had all been anticipated. Flamingo immediately switched to inertial navigation system mode, relying on fiber optic gyroscopes and terrain matching algorithms, maintaining a positional accuracy within 100 feet for the remainder of the flight. At the same time, it activated its frequency hopping protocol, continuously switching return signal probing modes, both to evade passive radar detection and to mislead active air defense systems scanning the region. On the ground, Russian passive radar teams began spectrum scans, but each electromagnetic reflection from Flamingo existed for less than 0.5 seconds. For several minutes, Russia's radar and air defense networks were thrown into disarray. No one could identify the target. More importantly, no one dared to fire. On the Ukrainian command screen, blinking waves faded one by one. Flamingo had cleared the first kill zone. It then continued along the eastern flank of Lake Savash, a saltwater, sparsely populated area where terrain radars are notoriously ineffective. The missile maintained an average altitude of 150 feet and a steady velocity of 515 miles per hour. From above, Flamingo's path resembled a razor slicing through the last gap in Russia's layered air defense shield. Ahead, less than 15 miles away, lay the active zone of at least two S-300 PMU batteries, one stationed near northern Armyansk, the other covering the southern shore of Lake Savash. Together, they formed the medium-range tier of Russia's multi-layered defense in northern Crimea. At the moment, the 30 N6E fire control radars for the S-300 PMU systems were in standby track mode, conserving energy by remaining passive. Instead, the 36D6 search radar handled early detection. Only if a target appeared would the 30N6E be activated for target acquisition and missile guidance. But this defensive posture had a fatal flaw. The S-300 system was optimized for medium to high altitude threats, aircraft, ballistic missiles, or high cruising cruise missiles. Meanwhile, Flamingo was flying at just 165 feet, skimming the flat surface of Lake Saivash, a region with low reflectivity and minimal radar clutter. The 36D6 radar waves were easily scattered by shallow waters, low brush, or sand dunes along the lake, rendering a small target like Flamingo nearly invisible. Its signal blurred, barely distinguishable on the operator's screen. By combining ultra-low altitude, weaving trajectory, and active jamming countermeasures, Flamingo fully exploited this blind spot in the network, slipping past the S-300's engagement envelope without leaving any clear radar return. At 3:17 minutes and 20 seconds a.m., Flamingo had now traveled more than 105 miles. Ahead stood a dense interference wall, the outer zone of the Kalinivka farmland area, where Ukrainian intelligence had located at least one mobile RB-341V, Lear-3 jamming truck, and a GPS suppression system R-330ZH Zhitel. The moment satellite signal strength dropped below -130 decibels per milliwatt, Flamingo automatically severed GPS connection, locked the digitized terrain mode, and shifted entirely to INS, combined with auto-terrain recognition, an onboard algorithm using an integrated mini-radar altimeter for terrain mapping. For the next 30 seconds, Flamingo hugged the farm terrain, skimming crop rows, tracing irrigation ditches and stream beds, dodging all greenhouses, residential zones, or large metal storage sheds. These objects, though inanimate, posed lethal reflection angles that could expose it to ground radar or thermal optical sensors onboard Russian drones. At 3:18 minutes and 12 seconds a.m., at the Russian Air Defense Command Center in Dzhankoi, a weak interference signal flickered to the southwest. An alert sounded, but the blip vanished after 2 seconds, too brief to generate a tracking line. That night's weather brought low fog and high humidity, scattering radar signals, ideal conditions for low-flying cruise missiles. On the Ukrainian side, the Beaver drone team continued scanning for any change in the 91N6E radar's pulse frequency, but everything remained silent. No one in the Russian command knew the missile was now less than 30 miles from them. At 3:20 minutes and 45 seconds a.m., Flamingo entered the final phase of its mission, the most densely defended zone around Dzhankoi, where Russian radars, Pantsir systems, and reconnaissance UAVs converged. Up ahead lay a single-layered defense belt, one Pantsir S-1 battery stationed along a drainage canal, a Nebo-M early warning radar site 4.5 miles away, and finally, the 91N6E fire control radar, the heart of the S-400 system, tonight's ultimate target. The missile dropped altitude to just 100 feet, hugging a narrow water channel. It shut down its onboard radar completely, entering full stealth mode. Only its INS system, driven by fiber optic gyros and preloaded 3D terrain maps, maintained its trajectory. From here on, there would be no human intervention. Either Flamingo completed its mission, or it would be destroyed deep behind enemy lines. At 3:21 minutes and 35 seconds a.m., on the Ukrainian reconnaissance UAV's infrared feed, the 91N6E radar suddenly switched to full track mode, indicating it had just detected a suspicious target from the southwest. But it was already too late. Flamingo was now just 3.5 miles from impact. No air defense system had time to respond. The Pantsir battery had already fired its lone interceptor at the decoy UAV 15 minutes earlier. The S-300 radars were angled skyward, unable to dip into ultra-low altitudes. The 91N6E had only just picked up the return echo, far too late to relay coordinates to the 5P-85TE2 launch vehicle. At 3:21 minutes and 49 seconds a.m., Flamingo accelerated. Its turbojet engine surged to full thrust, pushing its speed to 530 miles per hour. It tore across farmland, sliced through windbreak trees, punched through barbed wire fencing, and then, 2 seconds later, a blinding fireball erupted over the Dzhankoi night. The white flash lingered nearly 3 seconds before a rising mushroom cloud curled skyward. A deafening blast shattered the darkness. Its shockwave echoed across a 6.2-mile radius. The concussive wave shattered windows in dozens of homes nearby. Reconnaissance drones captured the aftermath. The 91 N6E radar vehicle obliterated. Its antenna mast collapsed, flames spreading to the command unit and power generator truck. There was no return fire, no response from any remaining missile systems. Just 3 minutes after the explosion, NATO infrared sensors passing over the Crimean peninsula registered an anomalous heat bloom. Satellite analysis from Sentinel's 3 to 5 micron band confirmed. Thermal spike reached 1,100 degrees Celsius, 2,012 degrees Fahrenheit, lasting over 14 minutes. Burn radius extended 75 feet, with 2 hotspots flaring above 20 feet high, consistent with diesel fuel and microelectronic combustion. No counter-battery or interceptor launches were observed. To Western defense analysts, there was only one conclusion. Russia's 91 N6E radar had been eliminated completely. Estimated at $110 million, this radar was the crown jewel of the $500 million S-400 Triumf battery deployed to protect Crimea since 2017. The 91 N6E was not just the eye of the S-400. It coordinated tracking and target data for Panzer S-1, S-300 PMU-2, Buk M2, and the Central Crimea Electronic Warfare Network. With this radar neutralized, central Crimea, from Perekop to Krasnovar-Iska, was plunged into a temporary radar blind zone stretching 93 miles north to south. Key targets such as Dzhankoi Air Base, home to Ka-52 attack helicopters, Kalinivka Fuel Depot, Iskander-M artillery staging areas, temporarily lost their long-range warning coverage, giving Ukrainian UAV, ATACMS, or HRIM 2 strikes a significantly higher penetration chance for the next 48 to 72 hours. In the first 12 hours after the strike, Russia's Ministry of Defense issued no official statement. However, semi-official telegram channels like Rybar, 2 Majors, and Vonkor Kotenok began posting alerts about unusual activity in the Dzhankoi region. Local residents reported a massive explosion in the night and said several military vehicles were being blocked from approaching the area. Operation Flamingo was a case study in modern asymmetric warfare, a scenario where a nation with inferior air power can still rupture the world's most advanced air defense grid using a compact reconnaissance drone, approximately $15,000, a decoy UAV, costing under $10,000, a domestically built cruise missile modified from KH-55 technology, estimated at under $300,000. The entire operation took less than 30 minutes, incurred no personnel losses, required no deep airspace penetration, and did not trigger any Russian air defense system. From this moment on, every S-400 radar site must face one question. Is there another Flamingo watching us, just 11 minutes away?